we're going to do today is, since we're starting a new unit, we did the unit opener yesterday, Unit 5, just to recap where we're at. And now we're going to do Week 1, okay, which is all about the key concept of change. So we're going to be unlocking our thinking with the key concept of change. We're going to be unlocking our thinking with the key concept of perspective, how we see things. And the last big key concept we're going to be thinking about while we do this is reflection. And part of the actual activity today is you're going to be reflecting about yourself a little bit, because as you know, we're all doing living museum biographies. We have to get used to describing people with sensory words. So the lesson is based on opening up a weekly unit. And you always have for the new reading series that we have, which is for the Common Core, there's a total of 6 units in the reading series. So when we start off, I have the children always working with different groups. So every unit we change our seats, and they have to start working together with new teams. And that's a real life skill. That's definitely a 21st century skill. So the children, they have to get acquainted with each other and learn how they all tick. So today was a perfect example of that. This is the first time they've actually worked together. And at the beginning of the year, obviously, it's not such a smooth process as it ends up at the end of the year. So we start off by activating our background knowledge, and there's always a big idea with the unit. So the big idea, obviously, is how does our perspective change, and how do changes in perspective actually affect the world and change the world, hopefully in a positive direction. And I'm giving you what is called a little viewfinder. And I can connect to this, boys and girls, because when I went to art school, this is the first lesson I ever had. And I had to walk around campus with this little viewfinder, and I had to look through this viewfinder to find different perspectives, ones I normally would not have seen had I not cropped out a little square of my view.
It was to see different perspectives of things. Like if you put it far out, it made the space smaller. If you put it close up, you just saw a lot more. So by that being cut out, you could see different perspectives of what you were looking at.
And while you're going around, see if it changes the way you think about things. See how it changes your thoughts.
When you look at things without the paper that he gave us with the hole, well, when you don't have that, everything looks like smaller, and you don't really appreciate that. But when you're looking through the hole, everything big seems bigger, and you like appreciate that even more, because you didn't know what that has so much like value or power.
I got out of it that like if you look at things a different way, then you might see them a lot different than what you see them in the normal way.
Position from your eye?
And you like go like this, you only see
like
a chunk of it. You wouldn't like see all of it. And if you go like this, it focuses on one thing. Because of our teacher, Mr. Hashey, and he teaches us a lot that most teachers don't teach, like metacognition and thinking, which is thinking about our thinking. That term means, like, if you think about something and then you rethink it, you might have a different perspective of it.
Let's start heading back to the meeting area. I'll give you a 10-second slow countdown. 9, 8, 7. They come in as 4th graders who probably do not know how to think totally off the linear level. So expanding that ability to do that and to make it part of their natural fluency. And then the other thing is understanding their span of attention at the beginning of the year, which is probably about 20 minutes max. You can keep them together for anywhere from 30 to 50 minutes, depending on whether you break it up and keep the rhythm going and make them think that they're all different things they're doing. So that constant back and forth rhythm, come to your seat, go out and move, come to your seat, go out and move, that type of thing, getting them used to that type of world. Because that's what the real world's about. We don't sit in a chair all day, hopefully. So what I want you to do is quietly return to your tables. And remember, who was the volunteer? Chase, did you volunteer for that table? Please help me out, okay? Would you help me out? Balance the team. For 5th graders, they're beyond that, we're going to learn just this and just that. They're tying all of it together. So 5th grade's all about multi-steps and thinking about your thinking, which I do teach metacognition, and that's all part of the Common Core process. So the big thing that the changes, which I've been exposed to somewhat already, is that they have to socially interact, they have to be collaborative.
This last year I've gotten that if you're social, then you can learn more than staying all cooped up and not like just thinking about by yourself. If you let others in, then you'll learn more.
my teammates also were in the same situation, so we shared think about and things that they haven't even thought about. So
we used collaboration because we gave each other ideas and we talked about it. You might use that in the future by telling people what you want to take act on, and they should join you and help you change the world also. Yeah, something like, oh yeah, right that. In color or black and white. Yeah. And then
Jot it down quick.
the size.
And they have to understand explicitly what they need to know first. The big thing is close reading. They have to understand to read something once for a basic understanding, but then they have to be willing to go back and reread for even deeper meaning. We've been doing a lot of that all year, and I think that's the key to get them to move on to the 6th grade. They have to understand how to tie it all together, synthesize, deeper thinking skills, metacognition.
we share our thinking, and because sometimes I got stuck because I wrote a lot. So, and Mr. Hashey kept telling me, write more, write even more. I know there is more stuff in your head than that.
So go through your whole map and circle a pair of opposites or a couple of pairs and see which ones you want to do. Negotiate it, and when you get the two opposite words, you're going to write them in right here, okay? And then we're going to answer our essential question. The first part is they go to the map, and then it's just a basic, like if you were going to do a web, what would you put as what do you already know? What's your BK? It was all about new perspectives. So they talked it around and connected all the things they know, and they started putting down words. And then after that, I shifted to something else to get them to change and maybe give them, and ironically, change their perspective. This time I had them actually reflect on themselves to be a more reflective piece. How do you see yourself? What's your perspective of yourself? And what's your perspective of the world? And then I threw in a little thing where I asked them to do a little bit of interviewing of each other. What do other people think of me? Does it match the way I see myself? And that's pretty much a life skill, because we all have things that the way we think they are, and then there's the way other people perceive us. So that was interesting. And then the third thing is I like to do a literacy connection somehow. So I found the book, The Boy Who Changed the World, and one of the key concepts was change, and how this boy's perspective changed, and how he actually did something because of that perspective change that changed the world, and get them to connect. So I specifically focused on one piece of metacognition, which this time was empathy, and empathy for setting. So in other words, as a setting changes in a story, how does that change your feelings as a reader? And how is the character changing in the story? How does that affect the character? Is it integral, backdrop, that type of perspective?
The synectics map is where like we put a box and then you put a certain subject in it, and then you put your opinion on what the subject is in the 4 rectangles that are surrounding the box. And then at the end we put a thinking statement that we pick 2 words and they're total opposites, and we have to figure out how they work together.
And I want you to tell me what experience in your life have changed the way you see yourself in the world around you. Go. Reflection time. So now that the testing's over with and all that stuff, is what do these kids really know? That's what I'm asking myself. Not what some test tells me or this. And yes, assessments are important, but when you see them really doing stuff and sharing knowledge, that to me is my true assessment of them. And I heard a lot of things today that I was saying, wow, I didn't even think they got that, but they did.
I already did touch. Shape, size.
That's your senses.
No, but I put touch down first. So I get the win.
Huh?
No right or wrong to this.
Yeah, you could do the texture of something because it's like a new perspective. You know when.
How about you, Adore? You interested in what I think about you?
For time of day.
The location.
So
the location would be spring. The location.
The yellow one. There's another color in the other tub.
Well, it helped me to change my perspective about the world. While we're writing things that help us change our perspective, I was remembering that before I came to the U.S., well, I used to judge people without even having the first talk to them. Like when a new kid comes to our class and I judge them just by their looking. So sometimes I had a bad perspective about them, and they kind of knew it, so they come up to me and say, hey, why don't you at least know more about me before judging me? But it doesn't matter what's outside of me. It matters what's inside.
It's reassuring to know that you can throw something difficult at somebody and they'll get it. They really will. Yeah. Okay, get your statements jotted into your maps to finish them off, and then we're going to do our sticky notes, and then we're done.
Yeah, well, my group did inspire and dull, because we said if people in history had never been inspired, they would have never changed the world. So the world wouldn't be like it is today without those people.
I like to draw, so I would like to make a cartoon when I get older.
Concept of function, because I'm a skateboarder, rider that goes crazy for ham sandwiches.
Today I saw a lot of trash on the grass, so I decided to pick it up. I think if people stop putting trash on the grass, we will save the earth.
As I was a designer before I was a teacher, and the first problem with any design is you got to know your audience. So as a teacher, you spend the first month really getting to know your audience as a class, and it's been different every year. And so the whole concept of being differentiated means that you're going to be open-minded and change your teaching skills to meet the needs of your children in your classroom. And so to me, differentiated instruction literally gives each kid a chance to shine. They have a different modality that they can connect to, and there's always something in there for everybody to say, oh, I'm good at this. So my question to you as your teacher, what personal experiences have changed the way you see yourself and the world around you? You have to be a teacher in whatever you do. So teaching is actually, to me, a universal skill. When I was in the Navy, I had to train. We had to all do our own training. We had to teach concepts. We had to go down into a working lab and show people that it does work. In design's the same thing. We had to train each other and share our knowledge and all this stuff. And in teaching, there's a teaching about teaching thing going on where not only do we teach our children, but we have to teach each other as educators. We have to find new resources. We have to be on the pulse of how the key concept of change. So to me, the best teachers out there are the ones that are willing to change every year. Not completely, but you have to get out of your routines and you have to break it, and it's going to keep you fresh.
I admire that he explains things really well, and that if we do something wrong, he lets it go, and we just keep on moving on with our day.
In the beginning, it looked like it's really hard, I can't do that, you think that. But at the end, you see that you can't do that.
All I really want to say is that if anyone comes to the school, Mr. Hashey is the ideal teacher, because he's nice, he teaches you things that most other teachers don't teach you, and it brings you to just thinking, wow, this is a great year that I'm having here at Wilkinson.